I was really surprised that I was able to get into this demolition lobby and actually play a few games for a few hours. But that's not the point of this video. I think we're all much more excited about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the newest title and most confusing title in the series. And I think we should jump off starting with some pretty awesome quick facts that are easy to get the point across, and I'm using two articles, one from The Verge and one from Kotaku. I'll leave them in the description below if you're interested in reading those. But the first couple things are the release date is going to be October 25th. There will be no season pass. This means it will be free maps, digital content, but that doesn't mean that there won't be any paid content, just no season pass. The multiplayer will be cross-platform between PS4, Xbox, and PC. There is a completely new engine being created for this game. Half of the campaign will focus on a special forces unit, and that unit is called Tier 1 Operator. That's the name, the Tier 1 Operator. And the other, you are part of a rebel fighter in the Middle East, and Kotaku estimates that is the country of origin is Afghanistan. And as we've all have heard about, the exciting thing about this campaign, the thing that we're all actually excited about instead of not caring like we normally don't for this reveal, for this point in Call of Duty, there is some very exciting promises being made about how the campaign will be played out, and their main goal is to show the conflict from both sides. Because there is a gray area in life with these topics that they're making these games about, and they haven't necessarily shown it. One thing that there was an interesting quote by Jacob Minkoff, the single player designer, is that he says, quote, "I do think that the point of art is to hold up a lens to life and give people a new perspective on it." And that is the end of the quote. That's really interesting. That's actually something we've talked about on this channel before, about privilege, support, and politics. That also will be linked below. Because as an artist, I have this conversation a lot. Does art need to have this function? Is it important that it does? Or is it important that it's just fun and that you enjoy it? But what's really interesting to me about this is that they are viewing their game as a work of art. And that's brand new, I think, for the series. I think normally we've seen, I felt like we've seen things that are just get pumped out, especially the single player, because there's two ways that you can go about making the single player, right? Half of the game is in, some Middle Eastern country. They're already doing that again. And then the other half does some, if we're going back to Call of Duty 4, does some, Russian shit. And that's a pretty standard way of looking at the conflicts that we have now. And it's a pretty, it's been the same, for a while now. What game other than, name all of the Call of Duties that do that, but name also the games that aren't Call of Duty that do that. And so they're using the mission No Russian is kind of one of the biggest inspirations, I guess, and one of the closest anchors of the last series that we could tie it to, because they're completely changing how we're looking at this game. And I think the biggest thing is that there is a new engine just for this game. We haven't seen a new engine since Call of Duty 4. All of the games have been played on the same engine that Call of Duty 4 is played on. And I believe the Jump Pack games, I didn't play them. I don't care about them, I'll be quite honest. But I believe that is the same engine, and I think they just used... I don't know anything about it. I'm going to stop talking about it. But that's something that we haven't seen for the boots on the ground Call of Duties, and those are the Call of Duties that I care about. And part of this new engine is that it allows for the cutting edge detail. And part of that detail comes from the ability to scan real life items and put them into the game, so to say. And they're doing things from brick walls, guns, helmets, and that's how, the versions were so realistic in the trailer that we saw. But they also scanned a tank. So that means I think we're not just gonna see really good looking guns, really good looking hands, really good looking trees and trash cans that are like the opposite of maybe what we're seeing right now. But I think it means that we're gonna see buildings that were constructed with actual bricks that were realistic. Like this pipe would be a realistic pipe that was right in front of my face in the game. But it's kind of amazing to think that this is like the things that we have been looking for from Call of Duty. We're looking for a new engine. We've been looking for, these missions like No Russian that aren't just the same ones. But as anyway, there is more information. One particular mission, there's a terrorist attack that occurs in England and London at the Piccadilly Market, and there's apparently I don't exactly know how to describe it. They didn't exactly describe the terror attack itself, but it seemed to be pretty atrocious. And then from there, you follow the tier 1 group as you go into an apartment building in London, in downtown London, and you go through the building, killing every person inside of the building. And that's something that we haven't necessarily seen before, right? Like, they usually do it in such a way where nobody else is in the building, right? The only people that you're coming across are bad guys, unless we talk about, the scene No Russian. The mission No Russian, as we all remember. And then there's another, they give another little snippet of the other half of the campaign, the rebel half, and you play as a little girl who has to kill a soldier with homemade weapons, including a screwdriver. And that's pretty interesting to me because I think a lot of us have seen the video. I'm forgetting the name of it. 3 dudes and a hammer. It's a video in Russia, and it's just a snuff film. Like, these guys murder like seemingly a homeless man with, like, screwdriver in particular was one of the weapons that were used in stabbing him in the stomach. And it's a pretty horrendous clip, just because it's not an instant death. It takes a while, and it's really gory. You see him react this entire time, and it's slow, and so that clip, I think, it's actually very popular, and I'm sure all of the people creating this game have seen it. And so we all know how horrendous this is going to be, and so I'm actually excited about that, because that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of us have been wanting from the single player campaign. Because without it, like they say, it's just kind of this happy-go-lucky. The bad guys win. I mean, the bad guys lose and the good guys win, and the stories become predictable. And I think doing this, it allows when you're playing the game to be like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? It's not just, oh, I'm gonna storm through here, we're gonna save the day, we're gonna shoot that guy, his arm's gonna fall off, we'll run into him later, but then I'll get him later, right at the end, just when you think you won't get him. And so it's I think it's interesting that they're not going to be doing that anymore. That's exciting, but I think this covers the end of the Verge article. And now we'll shift over to looking at the Kotaku article more. One of the things that I found about the mentioning of the special forces is they were going to be, quote, in iconic European cities. In talking about that with the combination of them scanning all of these new items, I'm hoping that these places will be incredibly real, not just real as in like, oh yeah, this is a real place that, and we're going to fictionalize it a little bit, but real in the sense of how they did the city of like Pripyat and the reactor in Chernobyl for like the Call of Duty 4 missions, where you all gillied up. And so I those were, you can go back and watch footage of not even when they were existed, but people now visiting these places in particular, because it looks exactly like the game. But you can go and see footage of people in these places, in these abandoned ruins, and it looks exactly as they have depicted. And the places it's just unreal. And so I'm excited to see that level of attention and brought to the game, as well as detail, not just not just like realism, not just a detail. I guess there is the proper phrasing of that, because I think that the team has shown that they can do some pretty incredible things with these topics, particularly how they handled Chernobyl and the city of Pripyat and the nuclear power, not just the nuclear accident that happened in Chernobyl and the results of that as it relates to war, but as well as the nuclear incident that happens on the Middle East, the American Marines, Middle East, Afghanistan, Afghanistan portion of that game. And so I'm excited for that level of detail to be put into this game. And also we see Captain Price. What the Kotaku article mentions there is that they're going to be weaving in nods to the old games as this goes with new imagery. But I'm excited to hear more about the multiplayer as this goes. But thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy it, and let's can't wait for the multiplayer reveal, E3 next month.